Hello again, everyone. This is Jessica back with another episode of Resources of the Medway Valley with the Museum of Ontario
Was I too
Archaeology.
fast?
And for today's lesson, we are going
That
to
was
be
too
looking
fast.
at one of the most looked at flowers of Ontario, which is the Trillium. Now, how do I know that's probably one of the most looked at flowers? Well, it's because it is the provincial flower and it's the emblem of Ontario. It is found on official documents, it is in the province's logo, and it's even the name of specific tax credits. Anywhere that the government seems to be able to put Trillium in, they try to take advantage of that. Now, the Trillium became the official flower of Ontario in 1937 during a movement to choose a flower that could be planted on the graves of Canadian servicemen who died overseas during World War I. So it was more of like an honorary flower, something that could be planted there, and since it's been adopted. So since I hope you guys know kind of what the logo looks like, let's have a look at what the actual plant looks like. So if you've never seen one in real life, here's your chance. So just to look at a couple of the characteristics of this plant, or what this plant looks like, the first thing you might notice is that there are a lot of groups of three. So that means that there are three leaves that surround the petals, there's also three petals, and then there are three of what are called stigma. Now these are in the very, very middle of the plant, and that's the long spindly things that trap pollen from other plants. They're a little sticky. You probably see them, they're really clear on lilies, different things like that. But that is why the plant is called a trillium. The very first part of the word, it's spelled T-R-I, try, that is actually the word that means three. So if you ever hear of a triathlon, that's a good one, that means that there's three parts to the race. So this is why it is called a trillium. Now we can also see that the trilliums have bright white flowers, but if you would lean down and smell them, they actually have no scent. What attracts the insects to them for pollination is the sweet, sweet nectar inside. Now, another thing is these flowers really don't seem to last a whole lot of time. They actually bloom for about 3 weeks, and then they turn a pale pink when they begin to age. So they actually kind of get a little cooler as they get a little older. But the flowers are not just white. The most common ones are, but there's also ones that are a deep red or a purple. Now what's interesting about the red flowers is that they actually don't produce any nectar. So that's the sweet stuff that I mentioned that the insects and even hummingbirds really like to drink. That's attractive to bees and those sorts of animals. Instead, they produce a stench. So kind of, maybe you won't be able to really smell it, but it's kind of stinky smelling. And it's something that flies and beetles really like. So if you ever see flies hanging around a dumpster, that's a scent that flies really like. So because of that, the flowers are actually able to get pollinated by flies instead of relying on the bees and the birds to kind of help them out. Now, where can we find trilliums? Well, they're in Ontario for sure. They're kind of all over the place. Really, they can even come into the US where I am right now. They really like to grow in rich deciduous and upland forests, which basically means there's a decent amount of shade. Maybe not even quite like the little woods behind me because some of the sun really gets through there. But they are sun-loving plants, so they do need a good amount of sunlight throughout the day, so that does need to be able to filter through the leaves. So they might be like us. They like the sun, but they don't really like to get too hot. It gets uncomfortable. Now, there are more than 36 trillium species found in North America, and most are native to North America. Some have been brought over as like little travelers, but they don't really do much of anything like our invasive species talk. They just kind of are flowers. Now in Canada, they are found from Newfoundland all the way to British Columbia, so right across the country. And in Ontario specifically, there are 5 species found throughout the province. So there's 5 different ones that we can see. Now, how do trilliums grow? They're kind of neat little plants. Trilliums bloom in early spring, so you'll probably be seeing them now if you haven't already. I've actually seen a couple pictures people have shared that they are starting to bloom now. So they bloom in early spring, which makes them actually a really good indicator for the beginning of spring. So when they bloom, we can almost tell that spring is pretty much right around the corner. Things are going to start to warm up. Now, each plant is actually connected to each other with a system of roots called a rhizome. Now, I'm going to quick flash a picture up because it's a little weird to explain. So kind of a weird looking thing. It almost looks like a big root of ginger, and that's pretty much what it is. So the rhizome part is that long root thing. And then you might start off with one plant in a rhizome. So you might grow that one plant. But as that plant gets older and it gets more energy from the sun and water and all the nutrients it produces, it can shoot off more little plants. So you'll have like the main plant that was your very first one, but then you'll get a bunch of little baby plants. It's almost like how grass grows. And I think I've said that in a previous video as well. So that's how it's able to grow. However, in the summer, the plant also releases its seeds. So at this time, ants are actually really attracted to the outside part of it. The inside part is the part that grows. So the ants will go and find those seeds, and they will actually carry them around the forest and leave them in different areas after eating that little outside part. So that's how the plant is actually able to spread. It's able to grow and multiply through the rhizomes, but because it needs to send off more plants throughout the forest to sort of be able to be beneficial to itself, it uses those seeds in the ants. Now what's crazy is trilliums take a really, really long time to grow, though. Even though you're like, wow, well, it's got the roots and it's got the seeds, how long can it really take? It actually takes 2 years for them to germinate, meaning that they need to go through 2 winters and able to be ready to grow. And then even after 2 years, the plants grow very slowly. It actually takes 7 to 10 more years until they're even able to produce a flower. So the leaves that you might see from a trillium, they might be in their 5th year and they have 2 more years before they can even make a flower, which is just crazy how slow they grow. Now, even both those trilliums, they seem pretty strong. They survive 2 winters. They take 7 to 10 years to produce a flower. They're actually really, really delicate. Some species are even threatened or endangered, including in Ontario, which is why we have to be really careful. Now, because, let's say you go out and you find a trillium and it looks really pretty, so you're going to pick it. If you pick the trillium, no new plant will actually grow back in its place with that rhizome. Even if that root system is undamaged, it is just a hard hit, so hard hit for a plant, it can't recover. The plant is also the favorite food of white-tailed deer, which leaves it at risk as a food source. So if there's a whole lot of deer around, they'll eat those plants down because it's really good for them. They like the taste. So instead of picking the flower, it is just best to leave them be and admire them, and given a good number of years, 7 to 10, you'll get big, huge meadows of trilliums in forests just like this. All right. Now, with all that said, I have a little, not really a craft this time. It's actually a game we're going to make and play. Super easy to make. It's really only going to be coloring on your part. A little bit harder for me because I made it up. But we'll head inside and I'll show you how to play it. And then I'll leave you guys go for a good Wednesday. So we are back inside, and as promised, we don't really have much of a craft as much as it is just kind of a DIY game. So what I did is I drew out the Canadian provinces, and I drew out a whole bunch of different flowers. Now, if you can guess this, based off of today's theme, the trillium, just like how the trillium is Ontario's provincial flower, all of these flowers are the provincial flowers of the provinces. So I figured what we could do is we could have a little card matching game. And if you've ever played these before, it's all about having a good memory. Now, of course, I don't expect you to draw all of these out. I definitely could not draw the provinces without a little bit of help from some tracing. But all you have to do to get these resources here is to go online at archaeologymuseum.ca. And just like last week with our little bat, if you scroll down a bit, there's a section called MOA Kids Crafts and Activities here, with an exclamation point, because we really want you to find those. And if you click on that, you'll be able to find a whole bunch of the themes from each week, and you'll be able to find these images in there. And all you have to do is print them out. If you have a printer that can even print on some stronger paper, like cardstock, you could even use that, because that would make it really hard to see through. Now, the to do is flip over the right cards and match them up. Now, to show you just what that'll look like, ooh, I'm losing my cards here, is once you have them all cut out, and you're going to want to cut them out on this solid line. Don't cut out all around the little flower, because that would take a really long time, and I don't expect you guys to do that. So just cut along the straight lines here, up and down, and then on the flower sheet there's going to be some rules, just like that, and it'll teach you how to play. Just, cut them out, lay them on a flat surface. It's probably more fun to play in a pair, because then you have somebody to try to compete against, but if you are alone, you can totally do it on your own. There are no rules against that. Then it's just like playing solitaire. So all you are going to do is you're going to play, well, you want to mix them up, of course, here. Let's do that first. And you don't have to be good. If you have a stronger printer, you'll probably be able to do it. You could even mix them up like this. Alright. Just like that. Alright. Ooh. Losing my camera here. Alright, so if you flip the one over, alright, so I got the Yukon Territories. So the Yukon Territories flower is the fireweed. Is it that one? Nope, that is Alberta's. So we'll have to flip them over. And if you're playing with two people, then you want to take turns. So the next person will go, and they'll flip their cards over. So, let's see. We got Nunavut, and let's see if I can get a flower. That's from Manitoba. Alright, well, flip those over again. And if you want to start off easier, you might create two little separate rows, one for provinces and one for flowers, and then you can be however you want to. If you want to try to mix it up and up, if you get two provinces, then that's not a match either. Let's see, we got Saskatchewan and Quebec. Not too much luck here. Well, I don't want to bore you guys too much. I'll have to puzzle this out on my own, maybe. But hopefully you have some more luck with me. And hey, if you want to time yourself too, if you're playing on your own or with two people to see just how fast you can match all of these up, and if you also want to play with who wins and who doesn't win, you can play with whoever gets the most pairs. So if I happen to get, the Western Red Lily from Saskatchewan, and I think see, this is where memory comes in. Nope, that's Nova Scotia. Yeah, I have no idea where Saskatchewan was. But yeah, I'll leave you guys to it. Should be lots of fun. And if you want to post a picture of yourselves playing it to any of our social media pages like Facebook or Instagram, feel free to do that. We'd love to see you guys having some fun with this. Alright, so hopefully you guys learned a whole lot of new stuff about Ontario's provincial flower, which is, of course, the Trillium. So before I forget, because I almost forgot to say it, the whole point of having the cards from our craft print in black and white was that you guys could have a chance to color them in. You can color in the provinces any way you want to. If you want to add a little pattern to it, maybe spots or stars or whatever you want, you can do that too. And same thing with the flowers. If you want to look up a picture of what they look like online, you can totally feel free to do that and get them as close as you want. So if you have a big pack of those colored pencils or crayons, you can pretty much do anything. You can blend colors. Oh my goodness. The opportunities are endless there. And then if you have a little binder clip or paper clip, or you could maybe tie them together just to keep all of your cards together so that they're not getting lost. That way, if you're trying desperately to find Alberta's provincial flower and it's just not in your set, then you might have lost it. And I don't want you to have to reprint everything out and color everything in, because I'm sure the first time you did such a great job. So with that being said, for the rest of the week, we have Heather coming on tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Facebook Live for another MOA live talk. And as usual, they're always super interesting, and I suggest you guys hop in there and have a look and hear what she has to say about the topic for tomorrow. And then Katie will be back on Friday at 10 a.m. on Facebook Live with another Mad Lib session. And again, super fun. You can shout out whatever words you want. If she's looking for nouns, say any word in the book. I think last week, we were headed to exhibit. So maybe we'll finally get to see what it's like to be an artifact on exhibit with this story in Mad Libs. Fingers crossed. I'm excited for that. So otherwise, keep those things in mind. and pay attention to what they have to say at the end for scheduling, for online talks and activities, and have a great Wednesday.